Hello there. We start with the travel business because there are hopes that tourism can restart across Europe this summer after a deal in Brussels on Thursday. The European Union has agreed to bring in COVID-19 certificates, allowing free movement for travellers if they've been vaccinated or had a recent negative test. Now, the deal will allow the European Parliament to vote on the plan next month in time for it to be introduced at the beginning of July. Now, the European Parliament's negotiator on the deal was pretty excited at the prospect. Hello, this is BBC News with the latest headlines for viewers in the UK and around the world. Hello and a very warm welcome to BBC News. Gaza is waking up to a ceasefire with Israel after 11 days of fighting that's claimed the lives of more than 230 Palestinians and 12 Israelis. The deal, announced late on Thursday, was brokered by Egypt and agreed to by the Israeli Security Cabinet and Palestinian militants. Thank you very much, Danny Danon, the permanent representative to the UN. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And in a couple of hours' time, we will be speaking to Najila Shawa, a humanitarian aid worker who lives in Gaza, about the ceasefire. Plenty more also on the website. Now, let's check in with some of the other day's stories and let you know what's going on. We're going to start in Belgium because police there are... Hello, this is BBC News, the latest headlines for you. Now, a giant slab of ice bigger than the Spanish island of Mallorca has sheared off from the frozen edge of Antarctica. I'm joined now by Dr. Sue Cook, who's a glaciologist with the Australian Antarctic Programme Partnership at the University of Tasmania. Thank you very much for joining me, Dr. Cook. Why has this happened? What sort of experiments and research is able to be done on this iceberg? And how important is it to the Antarctic research community? Sounds like you've got quite the job on your hands. Thanks very much, Dr. Sue Cook from the Australian Antarctic Programme. Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Now let's check in on all the very latest sports news for you. And before we turn to the business, I just want to show you pictures today of mutual and unconditional. It came into effect just over 5 hours ago. Business news coming up in just a moment. See you soon. Hello, this is BBC News with the latest business headlines for viewers in the UK and around the world. Hello there. We start with the travel business because there are hopes that tourism can restart across Europe this summer after a deal in Brussels on Thursday. The European Union has agreed to bring in COVID-19 certificates, allowing free movement for travellers if they've been vaccinated or had a recent negative test. Now, the deal will allow the European Parliament to vote on the plan next month in time for it to be introduced at the beginning of July. Now, the European Parliament's negotiator on the deal was pretty excited at the prospect. Love the hands, love the hands. Let's speak now to Paul Charles. He's the travel industry veteran who now advises travel companies. Paul, good to see you today. Now, we've had a lot of mixed messages, haven't we, about what we're supposed to be doing, what we're not supposed to be doing, where we can go, where we can't go. Are we now any clearer? As well, because there are plenty of people who are still not vaccinated. I'm thinking about younger people in particular, that a negative test would also do.
Yes, and
here, which is going to confuse people and put people potentially off travelling at all. Now let's turn to the row over corporate tax dodging because the Biden administration has proposed a global minimum tax rate of at least 15% on multinational companies. The US Treasury Department has been holding meetings with representatives from 24 different countries about the so-called global minimum tax. The BBC's business correspondent Samira Hussain reports from New York. OK, let's bring in Mark on for us today. Mark, can you call it a global minimum tax if not every country in the world signs up for it? Now, the UK and Australia are set to agree a zero-tariff free trade deal, but it's not going to come into force for 15 years. That's according to press reports. The transition period would give more time to adapt for UK farmers who have expressed serious concerns about the impact on their livelihoods. Mariko Oy necessarily look like great news for UK farmers. Now let's turn our attention to the UK High Street, because as restrictions are being lifted, stores are reopening and there's a surge in demand from shoppers. Charity shops are no exception, and the mental health charity Mind has seen record sales. It's put out an urgent appeal for volunteers to work in the stores and warns it has lost millions of pounds in income during lockdown. Start by explaining to our viewers just how critical. Thanks very much for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now do stay with us here on BBC News. Still to come, staying afloat. Hello there, welcome back. This is BBC World News, the latest headlines for you. Now, the cruise ship industry is worth a cool $150 billion a year to the global economy. It supports more than 1 million jobs, but the deadly outbreaks on ships around the world severely dented the image of cruises, and restrictions, of course, brought the business to a standstill. So, how do you plan for the future when you're losing billions and most of your ships are standing idle? Well, my colleague Aaron Heselhurst has been speaking to Richard Fain. He's the boss of Royal Caribbean, and asked him whether guests would have to keep on carrying masks. Now, take a look at this. It's called the Sakura, after the Japanese cherry blossom, and it's a whopper. It's 15.81 carats. It's a purple pink diamond, apparently, and it goes on sale at Christie's in Hong Kong this Sunday. And if you like it, you'll probably have to find around $38 million to pay for it. The sale will be, of course, a welcome boost for the jewellery business, which has seen sales collapse in the past year as lockdowns have taken hold across the world. So will 2021 bring the sparkle back? Well, the bias. Hello there. We start with the travel business, because there are hopes that tourism can restart across Europe this summer after a deal in Brussels on Thursday. The European Union has agreed to bring in COVID-19 certificates, allowing free movement for travellers if they've been vaccinated or had a recent negative test. Now, the deal will allow the European Parliament to vote on the plan next month, in time for it to be introduced at the beginning of July. Now, the European Parliament's negotiator on the deal was pretty excited at the prospect.